welcome to the PPM Playbook Podcast. I'm your host, Laura Watts, and for each episode, I will be talking to a guest to unpick the complexities of running effective programmes and portfolios of work. My company, Verto, is a veteran in this space, having supplied a programme management solution to public sector organisations since 2008. So without further ado, let's get started. Hello and welcome to the P3M Playbook Podcast. I'm Laura Watts, and today I have the absolute privilege of recording from Riverstone Heights in Bromley by Bow in East London, which is an absolutely fantastic building. The apartments here really are next level. I'm currently filming in the private dining room. There is a rooftop garden. There's a residence lounge and there's on-site support 24 hours a day. So, and there's lots more as well. So I just want to say thank you so much to the team at Riverstone Heights for letting us here, for hosting today, letting us record, because it really is taking our podcast on tour to quite another level. So we really appreciate that. Now, this particular episode, in this month, in December 2025, it feels quite significant. Although our first episode went live in March this year, so we're not quite at the 12-month mark yet, with all of the planning and the strategising that is happening internally at Verto at the moment, it really does feel like that we're coming to the end of our first year with this. And so on that note, I just want to say a huge thank you to everybody who has subscribed. And for those of you who follow each episode and listen to what we're talking about, listen to our conversations, we really do appreciate you being here. It makes all the difference, and we really love doing it. We absolutely love it. So, and like I said, lots of planning happening, and that is very true of the podcast as well. So expect a lot from 2026. We have a host of very exciting guests lined up. We have loads of topics to cover as well. We've also left a few spaces in the diary because, our industry, it rarely stands still, and we just want to allow some opportunities to react quite quickly to the ever-changing landscape, whatever those topics might be coming up. So if you haven't subscribed yet, now's your time to do so, because we really wouldn't want you to miss anything that's coming up for next year. Now, my guest today is Simon Sharp, Verto's CEO, and it feels very poignant that he's coming on today's episode for a few reasons, but mainly because this December marks the end of his first year as CEO at Verto. And so, although we have had a brief discussion earlier on in the year at the DigiGov event that we attended, we wanted to dedicate this whole episode to Simon, just give him the space to have a really honest and quite frank conversation and reflect on that first year that he's had. So, give him time and space to think about what he's brought to the table and to talk about any surprises that he might have encountered along the way. We also want to give him an opportunity to talk about his plans for the future. What does he see the trends that are happening within our industry? What does he see for our clients? And also us as staff, what's happening with Verto. So we're going to give him the opportunity to talk all about that today. So I look forward to my conversation with Simon. Simon, I'd like to welcome you to the P3M Playbook Podcast again.
Again, yes, thank you, Laura.
Yeah, it was a very short little conversation we had last time, and as I mentioned in my intro, I just wanted to give you the opportunity to take the entire episode, which is great. So all eyes on you.
Well, it's great to be here. Thank you very much, Laura.
Congratulations on completing your first year as CEO of Verto.
Thank you. Yeah, it's gone really quick, hasn't it? Yeah, it was the 2nd of December. It seems to have flown by, hasn't it?
Yeah,
I can't believe it. Yeah, I started obviously this time last year just before our Christmas party. I think that was the first thing I actually did when I joined.
Was go to the Christmas party.
And we have our Christmas party today, so it's all good.
We do. Christmas jumpers will be coming out after we've finished this recording.
I've got mine in my bag, ready to go.
I'm glad to hear that.
You haven't seen it yet, but yeah.
No, that's true. It's it's fab to have you here. It's great to have a focus on this, and like I said, it's poignant because you have been here for a year, and it just seems like the right thing to wrap up the year with a conversation with you. So within that year, can you share any perspectives that you've come across from working in Verto? You know, what sort of changed for you, or what did you discover in the first few months that might be different now?
Yeah, no, I think it's quite a good question. So, you know, I think there's a sort of a framework that I always look to. It's like the 6 Ps framework, right?
From marketing, I always look at the 7 Ps.
Yeah,
not is it a different set of Ps?
Well, I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, these are my Ps.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but basically, you know, like when you're coming into a new company, and I suppose from an investor's perspective, you know, they're always looking at various, the performance of the business, for example, you know, the positioning.
Yeah.
You know, what's the overall position of the business coming in? And I think one thing that always was super clear to me when I joined Verto is that we've got great customers that have been very, very loyal to the company because of the level of service and the people that the company has, and that's such an advantage and such a benefit. And I could see that from even before I joined the company, because I was part of some of the due diligence work with Scale Up Capital, our investor and owner. And that was, it was obvious to me that this company is in a great position to be able to go forward, you know. So with the right level of focus, injection of some money and some capital into the business, the key area I think that we identified that had the biggest potential in the short term was the go-to-market side, right? We had, as I say, we've got really, really loyal customers. The product is second to none. In fact, we are the number 1 PPM platform in public sector, which is great.
Yeah, yes.
So all of those foundations were in place. As I say, the company is performing, you know, everything looked good from that perspective. But the opportunity was, how do we let the world know more about us, and how can we promote what we're doing more? And as you'll know, and you've obviously yourself been a key part of all of this year, is how we've been able to take that forward and just get the Verto brand out there and just get that machine humming, right? And I think that's the beauty about it. You know, there was a very, very solid business.
Yeah.
But we've effectively taken this 12 months to build on that and set the foundation so we can now accelerate through growth over the next, 4 or 5 years and beyond from that point, you know. And I think we've done that extremely well this year. I mean, again, as you'll know, we've been moving at a rate of knots, right, this year. We've had a lot of change in the business. We've had, new people coming into the team, into the sales team. Tara obviously joined us in April as our fractional CMO, and she's been absolutely immense and awesome. She's had a big impact on the business to be able to take that forward. So from a marketing perspective, we're now doing this, we're doing regular podcasts monthly, we're doing webinars, we've got newsletters going out, we're building personal brand profiles on social media, we're launching a new website next week. Just giving you all this, right?
Now you've said it out loud, it has to happen.
Yeah, that's true.
You formalise that date
now. That's true. And, and obviously things that relate to that. So SEO, we've been looking at that. We've changed agencies. We're now going harder on ads, for Google and LinkedIn and, all of those things.
Yeah.
There's a lot, right? But it needed to happen. So the overall performance of the business this year has been really strong, regardless of all of that change, right? And I think everybody in the business has really adapted well to that change, and be able to take that on board, because I think everybody can see, the purpose, / vision of where we want to take the business over the next, as I say, sort of next 5 years and beyond. So everyone can see the goal. We've been very clear I think I've been very clear about my vision for where we want to go, and always hopefully painting that picture in a simple, simplistic way so everybody can understand, okay, this is the goal. We're very much an ARR driven business. We're a SaaS business at the core, and the North Stars from a finance perspective are ARR, so annual recurring revenue, and NRR, or net retention, net recurring revenue. They're the sort of the two key things, amongst others, but they're two key metrics that we need to really focus on. And this year, we're going to grow ARR by over 30%, and our NRR is going to be 130% plus. And in my experience in SaaS, if you can get anywhere over 120% NRR, that's a very, very good business, right? That's a very, very good SaaS business. I mean, our churn rates are extremely low, and that's just testament to everything that the guys and everyone in the business, our customer success team are immense. The expertise, the consultants, support, the structure, the process, the systems, the culture, everything that we have is really, really solid. Yeah. And I think now we just, the next thing is obviously to go hard into 2026. But I feel like the business, we're in a very, very strong position to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think from being a member of the team, inside the organisation, it's very much felt like for a long time we've been perfecting the core product. And it really, like you said, it was in such a strong position. The clients like it, they buy it, and they use it really effectively, and for many, many different reasons as well. So that's been solidified. And I think that that you've come in and really shone a light on just that next level out, and that involves fine tuning and honing the work with Simon Hall, the client success. Really making sure that people not just love the product, but get such extra value from the services and the people that are able to guide them on their journey, because it really is. I mean, journey, that's a funny old word, but the culture change and the change management goes into perfecting an implementation such as Verto is immense. Yeah. And then obviously the light being shone on marketing has been just brilliant. It's been such an amazing opportunity to have somebody like Tara come in and just focus on the value add that we can provide as an organisation, as well as a team, and then the sales team as well. Really, that's been fine tuned to the nth degree, hasn't it? It's been really great.
We've done a lot of work with that.
That level out has been really focused on. So I think you've done a great job of coming into an organisation that did have a strong culture. The three co-founders of Verto, original three co-founders, they were friends from other businesses, and it filtered through to everybody that worked in the organisation. And you've really done a great job at coming in and retaining that company culture. It's all about the people, it's all about the place, and we're all a remote workforce, so it takes an extra bit of oomph to join us, and you haven't taken any of that away. In fact, it's probably now, I would say, enhanced. So it's been really, really great from that perspective as well. But you also mentioned a little bit about public sector. We're the number one P3M supplier in the public sector at the moment, which is great. What have you learnt about that space? What's different about working for public sector organisations?
I think it's been really, really good to get under the skin of why we're so strong in that space. I mean, it's not on face value. There are a lot of headwinds, economic, political headwinds in central government, local government, etc. At the moment, everyone will be aware, with councils merging. There's Doge, there's all sorts of initiatives, new frameworks, project standards that are being launched that we can talk a bit more about as well. But it's been really interesting to get under the skin of all of that. But one thing I've noticed is, in one way you could look at this and go, well, this is a bad time, to try and sell into the public sector at large because of all these headwinds and, obviously reducing budgets, etc. But actually, what we've done a really good job of is actually looking at that completely the other way around, say, actually, this is a great time because, in order to make sure that these large-scale strategic initiatives in central government, local government, NHS, trusts, obviously we're very strong there, and even housing associations, that has really accelerated for us this year, because we've been able to really help that segment, because I think from an industry-wide, housing associations have becoming more digitally driven, and there's more governance and more compliance that's being applied in that sector. Again, that's a perfect way for Verto to be able to add value to those companies as well, right? Because we are essentially, the company was originally founded to essentially ensure that public money, people are accountable for spend. Public money is spent in the most efficient way, most cost-saving way. So all of that plays to our strengths as Verto. So yes, you've got to spend some money on Verto and invest, but ultimately the ROI, return on investment of that, is very, very strong.
Yeah. And what are your thoughts on the level of P3M support that's offered to public sector nowadays?
Yeah, so what again, I think where we are adding a huge amount of value is at that portfolio end, if you like, that strategic partner. So when when it tends to be C-level individuals, C-suite, so chief data or digital information officers or head of digital transformation, strategic change, they've got a really hard job on their hands, right, to be able to deliver against these initiatives that are, dropped down to them from central government. And where our core strengths lie is being able to take, these large, complex initiatives, but make it simple within a centralized platform where we can apply automation. We now embedding AI into the platform where necessary, and again we can talk a bit more about that, what we're doing around Verto Intelligence, again to make everything as efficient and as cost effective as possible. So we absolutely add a huge amount of value there, but equally we're enabling organisations to run at the project level to programs and then rolling it up into a portfolio, but within a central system that gives you real-time access to dashboards, to reporting. I've had some conversations this year with just out there on the street when we've been at different events, etc. Speaking to individuals that say, look, it literally takes us 3 or 4 days a month to create reports for a stakeholder at various seniority levels within the organisation that may want that report in a slightly different way, or it's got to look like this, or I'm most interested in that. Now, if you just throw all of that into Verto, you've effectively got all of those advanced reports and dashboards and insights in one centralised system, and you don't have to then be digging into various versions of PowerPoint or Word documents or Excel or project or other systems, right? You've got it all there at your fingertips.
Exactly, and not to mention delivering a report that's already a week out of date by the time it lands on the desk of the person that wants to see the data. It's just absolutely doesn't make any sense, does it? I think that it's all fantastic, but we work in partnership with our clients, don't we? This is not just good luck. It is good luck, see you later. And so which organisations out there are those that are going to thrive with a tool like Verto? And I'm not talking be able to use its functionality. what about those going through significant change? What about those who, it requires some overhaul in terms of change management and the culture change of the organisation? What are the types of organisations that are going to thrive in that environment? Yeah,
so, we've got some very large central government clients, organisations. DESNES is one of those, Department of Net Zero. We work with various other agencies across DCMS and others that we could go into. Local government obviously is a big area for us as well, with various councils, NHS trusts, ICBs.
All of them are going through.
So all of them have got their own nuances. They've all got a lot of change to handle, and I think one of the key value points or differentiators of Verto is, as I said earlier, the people and the expertise that we have, and we've got very, very clear processes on how we ensure that customers get real value. And some of that is implementation through the product and making sure that we're absolutely aligning to the business requirements, and we have very detailed workshops to ensure that that's all in place. So we've got a starting point and we know what success looks like, and we have very strong CSMs, client success managers, that work daily with our clients throughout the course of any contracts that we have, to ensure that it's not a case of you've bought a tool, good luck. We're absolutely there to ensure that it's successful. So through the whole process, and some of that includes maturity assessments that we're getting more and more embedded into how we work. So where are you on the sort of 1 to 4 scale today? And we go into a lot of detail around that through, as I say, driving that through our experts and consultants, and then okay, right, we might be at 1 or 2 today, so how do we get to 3 or 4 in a year, 2, 3, 4 years down the line? But we've got a very, very clear roadmap, if you like, of how we take a customer from point A to point B, but we're holding their hands the whole way. And that's super important for us, because one of our core values as a business, and certainly very, very core in my thinking, is around customer centricity, and everything we do as a business is around the customer. We ensure that we support them, we listen, we develop our product based on customer feedback, and we have a number of ways that we're building a community and a network around our customer base for the benefit of everybody. So we have regular user community groups, where we physically bring people together into various locations. We might run one in Birmingham recently, or we run one in London. And we encourage people to network and share ideas, and just really bring people together, and that's a core part of what we do.
Absolutely. And one of the great things about those user groups is that they've started facilitating conversations between clients independently of us. So, and that's really at a level where an organisation can feel really proud about themselves, I think, and certainly I think we do at Verto, because we're not facilitating anything anymore. We're allowing them to have a little conversation about us behind our backs, effectively, and that just shows, that sort of proves our trust and the trust that they have in us as well, which I think is really great. And it's certainly been an eye opener. I've loved that. Love seeing that happen.
That was great.
So what got you here? Could you tell us, I think that, 1 year in Verto, you can talk so fantastically about Verto, and like I say, you certainly come into our company culture and fit perfectly, so that's all good. Tell me about life before Verto. What were the steps that you took that...
How did you get here? So actually, I hadn't previously worked in the PPM space at all. My background really over the last 20 years is cybersecurity. And governance, risk and compliance, or GRC. So I've worked for some fairly large cybersecurity vendors over the years, such as RSA Security. So I was with RSA for 6 years, and they were part of EMC at the time. 50,000 strong organisation, and then EMC went on to be bought by Dell, so it's all sort of rolled up there.
Yeah.
So I've been working with some very large organisations there, and I was working, predominantly in financial services with a lot of the retail banks, etc.
Yep.
With authentication and verified by Visa, when you do the 3D secure, authentication when you buy things online, and that was all our technology in the back end. So I did a lot of work with RSA. This was probably 10, 15 years ago now. But then I in my career, what I really, really enjoy is that earlier startup, scale up stage of a business, right? And I made a very conscious decision at that point. So this was probably around 2014.
Right.
Do I continue my career in a corporate world, so to speak, going through that route, or do I sort of jump and literally, go to the other end and get stuck into startup scale? And I had actually, before joining RSA, I was involved in some very early stage companies previously. So that had kind of given me a bit of a taste for what that sort of entrepreneurial shit looked like. I've never been able to shake that off, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And I love it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a decision I made in 2014, and I just thought, look, if I don't get back into, as I say, that earlier stage, that entrepreneurial step now, then maybe I'll never get back to that. And it was always sort of an itch I needed to scratch at that time.
So are you saying that from a Verto perspective, obviously we're not a startup? We've been going since 2008.
That's true.
But businesses shift and they evolve, and because of the significant investment that we received a year ago, just over a year ago now, it's sort of placed us back in that sweet spot for you.
100%. Because even those early stage companies, like I'm thinking back to, I joined a company called Pindrop Security in 2014.
Right.
That was a venture capital backed company. At the time, I was employee number 26 in the company, but I was the first employee outside of the US. So that felt like, that was, a massive opportunity for me. But equally, it's like it felt like a startup. And I've always, since then, I've joined companies that have got sort of low millions in revenue, but want to scale to 10 to 20 to 50 to 100 million. So in that sort of, let's say the 1 to 100 million ARR bracket, I've worked for a number of companies that have been in the low end of that, and then taking it through to the higher end of that 100 million numbers and beyond that. And
so at that stage, I suppose, tell me if I'm wrong, you maybe feel like you're able to sort of shape the business and begin that journey of growth that they want to go on.
Yeah, exactly. So
somebody else can then take
so I think they normally say businesses that most investors are interested in businesses when they get over that 1 million mark in revenue, generally speaking, because that means you've proven that you've got, you've done problem market fit, you've got product market fit.
Right, yeah.
And now to take the business from low millions to tens of millions, what you need next is go-to-market fit.
I see, yes.
And it's that go-to-market piece that I've got a lot of experience in. So that's when we're talking about building, proper sales processes into the business, being able to formalize, put systems into place, and ensure that ultimately, the whole business is aligned. So that go-to-market engine is aligned from marketing through to sales to CS to products, right? Making sure that there is no silos, there's no barriers, as you'll know, right? We're all working together as one big team. But there is a very, very clear process and system that's being built in order to get predictable, repeatable, consistent growth. Yeah. And it's that bit where that's my sweet spot. That's where I've got a lot of experience over the years on how you build and scale those companies. So, the company's already got to a point where it's proven there's a market, right? There's product market fit, but then how do you then take it on and scale it? And I think that's exactly where we are. at Verto, and that's where I've been with other companies in the past as well.
So your experience is private sector, and what's more, you dealt with financial services. Now at Verto, we're starting to work with quite a lot of private sector companies as well, despite our roots being in the public sector. A lot of private sector companies are quite interested in us at the moment. Is there any knowledge sharing that you think that could, are they similar at all, or is it a completely different way of working?
I think they're very, very similar from what I've seen. I think the only reason why we haven't been in private sector so far is because we've made a conscious decision to stay in our lane,
to focus.
Now again, I've worked with companies in the past where we've just ended up, even with a relatively small team, just got spreading ourselves so thinly that you end up not getting anywhere. It's like the classic analogy where if you're digging for oil, do you dig like 10 shallow holes drilling for oil, or do you drill like one hole but go super deep? And I think it feels counterintuitive, it feels scary. A lot of people don't like placing a bet, on a particular segment. It's not a bet, you're doing a lot of market intel, you're doing a lot of research, you're working out which segments to go into. But it's the discipline you need is to focus in on where your core strengths are, and then you can then build out in an adjacent way. So there's similarities.
Using the same tools, same techniques.
Exactly. Same use cases, same business challenges that you can then add more and more value within that segment, but then you can then go from one. So you might have central government that naturally bleeds into local government, that bleeds into housing associations. And now I think we really understand that market. We're equally seeing data signals, from private sector already, both by inbound inquiries that we've had, and we've sold to retailers this year, but not that we were particularly looking to do that, but we've been able to help them. And also when you look at the broader market, what have our competitors done? Where are they focusing? You're adding up all these different data points, and ultimately I think that financial services is very, very akin to central government in the sense that it's there's lots of compliance, there's regulation, there's more and more governance. The types of broad programs and portfolios continue to grow. We absolutely naturally fit in that world. Absolutely. And as I say, it's just we've kind of almost been taking our time to say, right, now we've got the right foundations in place as a company, now is the right time to go into that. And as you'll know, we've hired salespeople already this year now that are focused on helping customers in that market and driving us that way. And obviously from a marketing perspective, we can focus our efforts on one particular segment. Doesn't mean that we'd absolutely love to help manufacturers and retailers, etc., but from a strategic perspective, it just helps us be all very aligned in particular segments or sectors where we can add more and more value because we understand that industry.
So how do you define the value in the context of what we do? How, what sort of we can be many things to our clients, to our citizens, to the citizens that they serve, and so on and so forth. Could you define value? The value that we provide. The value that we bring. So I think it comes down to the people we've got. I would say that's the number one thing we've got. Coming back to our NRR numbers, our retention, our churn is so low. There's a reason for that. It's because the level of service and the people, the expertise, and the fact that we go that extra mile to make sure that everything is successfully rolled out, deployed, supported, adopted. All of these things with our customers, and we listen, and we're very customer centric. That is the core
value that we bring to the party.
Yeah, I think so. And just to add to that, I just think strengthening that company culture is something, Verto very much acts like the glue for so many of our clients. So I definitely think that all of that is, completely right.
I would say that was number one, right? People. But I think the process side is important as well, because we have that very clear process and systems. So it's not just about bringing the technology in. It's about, you've got to have that process, that system designed before you then bring the technology in. It's the classic, you need to understand why you're bringing a tool in, rather than saying, I've got a tool now, I need to design a process around it. You have to make sure you've got the people, the process, and then the technology comes in.
To underpin it all, yeah.
And I think that from a technology perspective, the product, we've done a fantastic job around innovation, right? And you've interviewed Ross Ardell, our CPO, Chief Product Officer. He did some great presentations around AI and what we've delivered there on the webinar recently, as well as at DigiGov, one of the events we ran in London, or attended in London this year. What we're doing with Verto Intelligence is immense. I can't see anybody else in our space doing anything near what we're doing. We're bringing in agentic AI is being built in. We've got data insights. We're using it for wide-scale importing of data, which is super efficient, time-saving. We've got Copilot integrations. We have adopted AI, but we've done it for the right reasons, and it's because our customers are saying, if you can do this, we've got this problem, can you use AI to fix it? And we've gone, yes, and we've built it. And the developers and the product team we have, are super smart, and very, very skilled individuals, and I'm very proud of what we've been able to bring to market, and it's going to continue into 26.
Yeah, you've hit the right word there. It's a proud moment, isn't it? It's
definitely.
Really great to know that you're that the product that you are marketing, in my case, really is bringing some significant impact to the client, to our clients, and the use cases aren't wishy-washy. They are specific, and they're real to the users of Verto's, their day-to-day activities and what they do in their work all day, every day. And that's been fantastic. Yes, I have interviewed Ross, and I love interviewing Ross because he talks about it with such energy as well, doesn't he? He cares passionately about this tool, what he's built, and how it's evolving. On innovation and trends and everything like that, could you give us a little bit of insight on what you think? I mean, we've spoken about lots of things. The core was there. Now you've focused on that outer layer, the AI. There's a lot of stuff happening. What's happening in 2026? What can we expect? What are your plans?
So I think from a product perspective, we're going to continue to double down on the AI, and we're just starting that journey with that, right? So we call it VIPs, the Verto Intelligent Partners, right? And we're at the very, very beginning of that journey of effectively creating the agentic AIs, where we're creating personas within, virtual personas, AI agents within organizations that can add real value and look at projects and programs and portfolios and add real value to the organizations along that way. But we're at the very early stages of that. So we're literally running beta programs with customers at the moment. So going into 26, I expect us to learn a lot from that program and being able to refine that as we go forward. There's a huge amount of value in the product as well, actually, outside of AI. I get very excited about talking about AI because I think you can use AI for everything, and I'm a AI pro. We should be using that as much as we can across go-to-market as well as everything else, 100%.
Yeah.
But there's some significant improvements in the the tool or the platform around the reporting we're doing, dashboards. There's a whole raft of other things that we're doing. The look and feel is going to be adopted as well next year. So there's lots of things that we're doing around those areas as well to continually improve what we're doing from that perspective. I think from a market perspective, as we've mentioned, we're looking to really go hard into the private sector going forward, into financial services as specifically, but that could obviously bleed into some other areas as well. But we really want to understand more that market, work with some early customers in that space, and refine what we're doing there. I think from a positioning perspective, to continue on that journey where we are today, where we want to position ourselves as portfolio management.
Yeah.
We do project management, and we do it as well, if not better than everybody else at that level. But I think, as mentioned earlier, it's the portfolio level, it's that strategic aligning with the wide scale programs, the major projects, the underpinning of those strategic initiatives of our customers is where we add the most value. And we as a business need to ensure that we tailor our messaging and ensure that everybody understands exactly why we feel that we can add a lot of value at that level. And there's a lot of work that's been doing across the company to make sure that we support that. So through customer success, as I mentioned earlier, client success, with that maturity assessment piece, change management, all of that expertise and consultation needs to be able to support and lead with those customers looking for that level of assistance. And that's exactly to be honest, that's where our strength is. And we just need to make sure that we're well positioned. We're continually looking at our pricing models and everything else that underpins all of that.
Yeah. So what about Verto as a team? We're continuing to grow, I assume, in the right ways.
We are, absolutely, yeah. So, we continue to invest in the company, invest in the team, as you said, so we're going to be building out the marketing team more next year and sales. Just across the board. Yeah, absolutely. We're just going to continue to do more of what we're doing. We've started, so again, we've had a fundamental sort of foundation year in 25. But we're just going to continue to build on that as we go forward. As mentioned, all of the things around the website and the SEO and all of those things, we're going to be investing more and more in that space. The product I mentioned, we're going to invest more there. And also, actually, we want to build. I'd love to be able to build some very strategic partnerships as well. We haven't really focused or worked with partners in a large scale way as a business to this point in time. We've got some really, really great partners already that we work with, but I think where we would really add a lot of value is with some of the large advisory firms and system integrators, so think the Accentures, the PwCs, the EYs of this world. I think that we would add a lot of value in partnership, working in those large scale programs and portfolio deliveries with those guys. So that's going to be a focus for us as well as we go into next year.
It's exciting times, isn't it?
Yeah.
So my final question to you is, how has this last year developed you as a leader? How do you think you've sort of changed and what?
Have I changed? So I think what's been really great working at Verto, I think you touched on it earlier, is the cultural side. And I think my natural personality, I think, always aligned very well with the company. That's probably one of the reasons why, to be honest, the investor thought I might be a good fit for Verto, coming in, because there's a very low ego element to Verto. Everyone is, very humble, very passionate about what they do. They're looking to add a lot of value to the community and to our customer base. And that comes through in spades when I met everybody in the early days. And I think it's been really good. And I feel like I've been accepted into the company, sort of
Good, I'm glad.
with open arms, which I guess is not always the case, right? Particularly if you're working with a company that's, you say, sort of 17 years old. There is a way of working, right? And to come in from the outside into that, you've got to adapt and you've got to put your stamp on it. You've got to, one of the, obviously the first things I looked at coming in was, what is our purpose? What is our vision? What is the plan for the next 4 or 5 years? Where do we need to double down and focus, in the business? Mm-hmm. Where do we need to, add more energy? How do I enthuse, and bring people on that journey? And I think I've probably developed myself over the last 12 months in that way. It's just, as I said, sort of understanding the business, which takes time, right? I think a lot of businesses, if you kind of come in on day one and just start ripping the book up and doing that, can end in disaster, right? There's a lot of people who've tried to do that and failed badly. Yeah. I think a lot of the thought leaders that I follow, would typically say, you're not. Someone once said to me, they said, you're not qualified to do anything within the first 3 months of joining any business, right? You should be in listen mode. You should be obviously thinking things through, weighing everything up, understanding where things are, running workshops, challenging. Well, why do we do it like that? Or why do you think like that? Or why are we positioned in the market here? Or because when you're looking at things from the outside, you may draw a lot of conclusions that you think I've been there before, I've done that, I've seen that. But every business is different, and you don't know until you've actually been there and you ask people, why do we do it that way? And you have to go through that process. You need to do those workshops. You need to work with the leadership team. You need to work with everybody in the business to really understand why they do things on a day-to-day basis. And then once you've understand all of that, then you can then say, all right, now we've got to change. Now we've got to change this, and we've got to move, and we've got to accelerate, or we've got to adopt, or we've got to do these things. But you're not qualified on day one, regardless how much experience you've got.
Yeah. Well, I think I think everything you've said has been fantastic today. It really has been great to have you here, and I really mean what I say. You do feel like you've been here for ages. This year has gone so fast.
Amazing. Really quick.
Yeah, and really glad to have you as part of the team.
I'm great to be here. Thank you.
Let's go have a Christmas party.
Right. Sounds good.